Ever been curious what's on the edge of some of the Neverwinter maps? Don't worry, we're gonna go and find some things, and I have for you guys. Welcome to part 2 of my new little series and finding what's on the edge of Neverwinter. Let's begin. And before we start, I will be exploring the entire edges of the Undermountain in this video as well, and I will show you guys what I found later on in the video. But for now, stay tuned and let us explore Icewind Dale. So I started my journeys in the Sea of Ice, and the reason I wanted to start here because I know every single player has came to this exact point in this place on Icewind Dale and stood on top of this mountain just so they could see what was on the outer edges of the map. And I find this to be interesting because, you know, every player has that curiosity of what lies beyond the borders of every map and every video game. Even when you see things that are kind of untextured from further away, I feel like that gives it more like realism because now it looks like there's actual distance between you and that object and stuff. And a lot of the times when I'm playing Neverwinter, I find that interesting when, you know, looking off the stuff and I see stuff even further away that's like super untextured and I'm like, huh, I'm even more intrigued. There's also a lot of paths like this around Bryn Shander, and these paths lead to other connected maps in Neverwinter. So I thought that was a cool little piece of lore I wanted to share with you guys. And when coming to Caer Konig, I have no idea if I said that right, but it looks like there's other pieces of the city that go further out. It would be cool if they actually extended this little city in Icewind Dale, but I doubt they would do that. This is such a old map in Neverwinter. This has been here for over 10 years, but it's interesting to look off over there to see what's over there. It looks like there's maybe you can actually go over there because it looks like there's a massive tower over there that looks like it's of importance. So I don't know, very interesting. If anyone knows if there's anything that actually lies over there, let me know what that actually connects to. And if you pay attention enough in the Caer Konig cities, you'll actually come across this little border. This is the border of the map. I can't go over this fence. And on the other side, there's this guy that's like getting jumped by two guys. So I found this very interesting while scouring the edges of the Neverwinter map. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. I need to go. I wanted to help him, but I couldn't. So I had to sit helplessly while he got jumped. And yeah, I think that's something they force you to do in this game is helplessly just watch for the first time ever in your Neverwinter life. Someone get jumped and for the first time ever, you can't step in and do something. So, how does that make you feel? I also found this cool little stream that was running down a rock on the edge of the map right here in the Caer Konig cities, however the hell you say it. Whatever. But I thought this was pretty cool. But let's move on. The Wall of Dragons was not very exciting. There is literally nothing but rocks on the edge of the map in this entire map. So, wasn't very fun. I want to go ahead and move forth to the Dragonbone Vale, my fellow adventurers. And when coming to the high mountains of the Dragonbone Vale, you won't find much but high mountains, but there is a bunch of dragon bones on top of this little mountain right here. And there's a little pathway, if you look closely enough, that'll actually lead you closer to those dragon bones. So I feel like this is very interesting enough, and it's on the edge of the map, so I thought it was cool, and you're allowed to get a little closer to it. Not sure if there's anything ever up here at any point in time, but you're allowed to come closer and get a, you know, better look at it if you want to come up here and see for yourself. Maybe there's a little way to glitch out of the map up here that I'm unaware of, but you can't jump on the bones or anything, so. But, yeah, you can get a closer look, but we will count this in as something, as a monument on the edge of the map. And if you look closely enough, these are massive dragon bones. So this dragon was massive, so, interesting. And right at the spawn of Dragonbone Vale, if you come up this little hill and you look down this massive mountainside, you can see a bunch of tents. And I'm sure many players have looked down there and have seen this. And I wanted to point this out because I wish they would utilize stuff like this a little more. You know, most of the time it's just like a massive rock or whatever. You know, when you look down there, it's actually like individual tents. It's not some wallpaper. It's stuff that's actually down there, and it piques your mind and makes you wonder. And that's why I think many players have came to this one little spot and have looked down there and wondered what down there and what do those tents entail, what are they preparing down there, what massive battle will that army be getting ready for, who knows. But I love looking down there and seeing all the, you know, tents, and the ones that are even further away are like blurrier and untextured, and it makes my mind think that it goes even further. So, I don't know. And like I said, I'm sure many players have came to this little spot, have looked down there, and have just stared off into the distance because their mind is so interested at what is out there, and it's literally nothing. But your mind tricks you into thinking maybe there is. I also found this. It's on the edge of the map, but it's not too interesting. It's just some weird contagious stuff going up this mountainside. But let's finally move on to the Undermountain. And through the Undermountain edges, you won't find much besides massive wall sides. Sometimes you'll run across stuff like this that'll be on the very border of the map. Sometimes it looks like they just got creative and decided, let's put a huge cave here that looks ominous, but it doesn't actually go anywhere. This will be what you'll be seeing most of the time when you're in the Undermountain. There's not really much going on here when you run around the edges of all these maps. But sometimes, maybe just sometimes, you'll find something. I did come upon this. It was a massive beam of light shutting down on a stone door, just somewhere random on the edge of the map. It didn't look like it was anything of actual importance, though. It just was the edge of the map. But I found it interesting. And of course, when exploring the depths of the Undermountain, one of my favorite parts of the Undermountain when you come to the edge is this area over here. And sometimes when you come and look over the edge, this little tentacle monster will be right here. Sometimes it won't. It'll go back in the ground, and you'll see it here in a second. If you pay attention long enough, it actually goes back in the ground while we're looking off into the distance and stuff. But this area is my favorite. If you've been in the Undermountain and you haven't paid attention enough and looked over here, then you might be blind, because this is one of like the main areas in the Undermountain that actually I feel like most players will remember and know this area. This is the edges of the Undermountain. And one of the more peculiar things about it is that little tentacle. I'm not sure what that monster is that comes out right there temporarily and then goes back in the ground. You don't really see anything about whatever that tentacle monster is throughout the campaign, really, so it's just kind of a mystery on whatever that monster is that, you know, lurks in the water right there. And you can even see some of the rocks are like corroded in a way, as if, you know, there was a castle that used to be there or something. So it's very interesting. And I wish they would utilize things like this that were out of bounds more often, but I feel like they don't really utilize this as much as they actually could. I haven't been to some of the newer areas, but I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff going on there, so when I do go there, I'm sure I'll be really excited. And when searching through the Undermountain depths and crossing through all the edges of every single map in the Undermountain, I came across this, and I don't know how I missed this the first time when I was doing the campaign and stuff, but I saw it and I was like, there's dragons flying around in space, the Earth is way over there, they're just... This was literally the definition of fantasy when it comes to what is fantasy. It was just so much to fathom. And this is what I mean by like being able to utilize what's in the background of a map. It's like it's like a canvas. It's something that a player is going to obviously analyze and want to explore. And it's a different terrain. You want to see what it is, understand the, create lore in your head, or understand what lore it actually is, and where it's at on the map, if it connects with other places. There's a lot of stuff that looking outside of the map can actually do for you. Like in a lot of the places in Neverwinter, if you look outside of the map, they actually connect with other places. You find it very interesting to go and look into some of these things. It's super entertaining to me to find out what all this actually is. But this is more so just absolutely cool to look at. And, I love when they do things like this, and it's super creative. So I fell in love with this when I saw it for the first time. And so while searching the edges of the Undermountain, I came across this door that was glowing, full of light. There was a pathway that led even further into the Undermountain. I wonder where that actually leads if we actually did some research into it. And then this guy pops up. If anybody knows who this is, he tends to pop up a lot in certain places outside of the map that have like significance, or like a lot of places. Like this area obviously had some sort of significance, and that's why I came over here to look at it, because it was on the edge of the map and I couldn't get over there where that guy was. So if you know what that figure is that comes out and all this green smoke shows up, let me know, because I'm curious. And I'm curious where that pathway actually leads on the right side. I wonder if that maybe leads to a pathway up to that leads into the Underdark, which then takes you up towards the surface. It's fun to, I don't know, I like to make theories like that, because I know there is a pathway somewhere in the Undermountain that leads into the Underdark. So, because it's all connected through some pathway, so it's very interesting. And I'm wondering if maybe, is that the pathway that leads into the Underdark? Because I don't know if there's actually any direct pathway in the game, in the Undermountain, that actually takes you to the Underdark. So maybe this is that actual pathway that leads to the Underdark. But I went to the forge, and you can see, if you look right up above, you can see outside of the map, just on the edge up there. And this place is actually a massive factory. So, like I said, when it comes to the Undermountain, there's a lot of... It's hard to find stuff that's on the edge of the map. But I tried to find things that had a lot more significance. And like I said, most of the time, there's just massive, cave walls. It's the Undermountain, so they have a lot of excuses on what to put as the border of the map. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers from the far beyond, that brings me to the end of the video. And like I said, when searching through the Undermountain on the edges of the maps, you won't really find much. It is pretty boring down there. I wish they would have utilized some of the backgrounds a little better, because, when I was down there, I just didn't feel like it was as beautiful as it could have been, but it is still a fun piece of content to play and everything. This will probably be the last time I ever talk about the Undermountain. I won't be going back on or touching upon the Undermountain or anything, really. So, yeah, we'll be moving forward through other newer places, like, places we haven't been. So, We'll see you in part 3 of this, obviously, in the future, after releasing a few more Neverwinter videos. You guys, thank you so much for the recent support on the Neverwinter videos. It means so much to me. It is awesome to read through all your comments. Please like, subscribe, and do everything you possibly can. Thank you. See you next time in the lands of Neverwinter.